I work with BP out of Houston, and this, y'all know likely Austin Griffith. And so ironically, 3 years ago, Austin, okay, good. Ironically, anyways, 3 years ago, Austin and I actually hacked together at ETHDenver. Yeah. So anyways, back at it in a different context here. So what I'm going to go through today is how no-code platforms have helped BP accelerate the adoption of blockchain technology within our company. I work for a digital innovation organization, essentially within the broader context of this huge company. So to start with, I wanted to explain a little bit about what my group does and how it's different. So within BP, we have the Digital Innovation Organization, which is a group of about 30 of us. We're split between the UK and the US, and we have a small team in China. And it's a collective group. We've got musicians, we've got mathematicians, we've got engineers across the gamut. And our major differentiator is we are in charge of looking out on the order of 10 to 15 years at different technologies that we see impacting the company. So, for example, a good thing to start off with to talk about is like quantum computing, right? So that is something we look at in a different context than just something to improve existing business processes, because we know it's something that's developing, but the immediate ROI or return on that is not something that you can look at in a traditional modernization or like transformative IT project kind of process. So we get to look at things a little bit further out strategy-wise, which is different. And then on that, we also, in that organization, look at blockchain technology as well. I mean, you guys know in this room that as a technology, you can spin up blockchains on Azure and AWS, and there's nothing to stop an enterprise from building out something now, but the research and the change that is happening in the technology, especially in the public space, is just enormous. So we continue to look at that because it's important to not just think of where we are now with Ethereum and blockchain, but also consider where it's ultimately going and where it's going to be as well. So that's what we do. So one of the things that we found a challenge within our company is that, and we've really seen it across the board within enterprise, is that looking at how we move from a proof of value or minimum viable product to actual production was really getting stalled in a lot of blockchain projects. So we knew we could come in and map out some kind of supply chain process and then spin it up, and then at the end of it, the business owners would say, okay, we've seen it, this is nice, but I'm not sure if it's saving us time, saving us money, all those kind of questions. So what we've come to realize is that it's not only just about building with more participants involved, because of course you've seen the consortiums and different environments coming up out of enterprise to allow more participants to be in the network, but more than that, you actually have to build out more of the entirety of the process. So like at BP, we've got 73,000 employees, and that's across the globe with tens of thousands of different processes. So although we may get a project that comes in and takes a purchase order from order state to creation to receipt, that's just a tiny fraction of what we do. It doesn't include tax or finance or audit or compliance. So what we wanted to do is look at how we can do that faster. So effectively when, it's not showing my whole gamut here, but I can say it. So when we look at implementing blockchain, there's a streamline of processes that need to happen. We explore the technology, we look for a use case within the company, we talk to different vendors, we come together, plot that use case out, then they develop it with code, and that gets taken back to our digital security teams, and then finally it's put in front of the stakeholders of the project, and they determine if it's acceptable or not, and then we go from there. So there's actually several steps that we identified along that process to speed up. And so effectively, what we said is that in the beginning stages of looking at where to implement blockchain within an enterprise, you've got your own expertise of knowing business processes. So the question that we had was, can we build up some super users within the company, some people who know our procurement well, know our finance well, and basically allow them to put together what they'd want to see, and enable actual end users to put together a blockchain product. So from the experience at ETHDenver, to be honest, and other places in the space, one of the things that came to mind was hosting an internal hackathon on how to do that and allow the actual business users to come up with those applications. So, of course, with that, targeting those individuals, what we were looking for was no-code platforms. So we wanted to get this in front of the people that handle our taxes, the people that handle our procurement and contracts, and allow them to actually build what they want. So we collaborated with a company called Trium out of Consensus, who's built a no-code platform that allows business users to plot their business processes and then assign different assets and end user roles to work within that. So, like I said, we brought together the business process SMEs that came together over 2 days, and we gave them an introduction to blockchain as a technology. We talked about public versus private networks, what should go on a blockchain and what should not, all those sorts of things to allow people to develop real systems that could work at the end of the day for the build out that we were looking to achieve. So we hosted this in Houston and in Sunbury over in London, and like in the picture you can even see one of the things that happened is we got long streams of process flows built out because the people in those pictures, they're not all from the same functions. So like even that particular picture, you've got one from procurement, one from tax, one from auditing, all those different things, so they could all talk together in an environment and say, well, we're all part of the same process flow. How should this look in a system? So the results of that is we got over a dozen new use cases. We had this incredible cross-function collaboration that we hadn't had before in these kind of projects. And users could present a sort of MVP to their leadership that used a user interface. And that's transformative when you're trying to explain to somebody whose world isn't in developing these kind of tools what it can do. That provided just such a tangibility to what we were able to put together. So we had about 50 participants go away with a better understanding of blockchain and as well as a better understanding of private versus public and what can be built and what should and things. So in the context of Ethereum, because we are at ETHDenver, there's a statistic out there from Gartner that says by 2024, 65% of applications will be built using low-code or no-code applications. So the availability of these kind of platforms within Ethereum is pivotal to the proliferation of it as a network and as a platform in general. So, and then the other thing that it means is you get actual what we call within the company citizen developers of the owners of the process actually putting together what they would like to see and would be most effective for them to change and improve their business. So with that, I know Austin has another low-code solution that he's going to demo here for us, and unless there's any burning questions, we can go from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of a strange transition here, but kind of thinking in terms of prototyping and the power of being able to prototype. I'm building this new product called eth.build, and it is a no-code. There's code. We'll get to some code in here anyways, but it's very prototypey. So you kind of just start with an empty screen and like Karen said, if you had a group of people that wanted to kind of hack on something or play around with something, just get it in their hands and see what it feels like. This is a really good way to do that. So if you guys want to play around with me too, we can all do this kind of on the same network. But if you want to pull up ETH.build, you can. But what I'm going to do is just kind of like play around with like, it's just Web3 prototyping, right? So let's just like, get a key pair in here, and let's generate a private key, right? And we can have an address that's derived from that private key. Okay, cool. So now we are creating an address, right? So historically, if you wanted to get in and play around with Ethereum, there's a lot of onboarding required to just screw around, right? There's a lot that you have to do. Well, we can just kind of create accounts right here. I can create a key pair from 1986 or whenever that came out. So then we can drop in some more interesting things. So let's get a blockchain going. And what I have for eth.build is I have a local test environment running on my server that's shared with everyone. So if you guys go to eth.build, you can kind of play around with the same stuff I'm playing around with. But what I'm going to do is just bring in a faucet, right? And we'll drag my address up to the faucet, and we'll request some funds, and it'll tell us what the transaction is. But, I forgot to get my balance. Let's see. So let's grab the test chain and plug it into our blockchain. Isn't this cool? We're doing Web3 calls. Let's get the block number, right? Oh, it's at block 40. But what we want to do is grab the balance of this guy and see that he has earned some testnet ETH. Doop, doop, doo, doo. Oh man, I keep disconnecting it. There we go. There we go. And this is really fun, like on a touch screen. Like I have these new Amazon 10 tablets. It's so cool to just crush some cool Web3 prototype on a little tablet. Okay, so let's see, what's our balance? Okay, first lesson. It past key pairs is what the heck is that giant number, right? We can bring in some, let's go from way, right? Bring that guy in here, line him up. And I think actually in a turn of irony, I think Patrick's downstairs on the Rainbow stage doing a demo of our DAI, and he's using eth.build to do that same demo. So it's really cool to just kind of show off how things work, and we can dive in a little bit more. I'm just going with the basics here. So we have an account, we generate it on the fly. I can even turn it into a burner wallet by taking that PK and dropping it into local storage. Never do that. And then, there we go. Now I can reload the page and it's all good. I can save it. Actually, let's see what I can do. Oh, look at that, it still fits in a QR. So now you guys can scan that QR and you'll have my same exact eth.build, including my private key. Let's see if I can pull it off here. Oh man, that is a big QR code. Come on, baby. Oh, it didn't work. We've been having lots of QR code problems today. Okay, so let's get into something more advanced. Once we so in terms of prototyping, right? Let's say you're thinking about building a dApp, you're thinking about putting a TCR out there or trying to look at supply chain stuff. You're going to want to probably screw around with a contract. So let me just fast forward real quick. Here's the curriculum. We talk about hash functions, key pairs, distributed ledgers. See, we get into a distributed ledger and we kind of have a ledger set up and it's going across a network. And then we dive into, what's episode 4? Ooh, blockchain. Cool. Oh, but before blockchain, we get the Byzantine generals. This is really cool. Check this out. Look at all these soldiers. So we have, oh gosh, what am I doing? Get out of here, wire. So we have this general here who's wanting to attack a city, and he has all his soldiers. And if we get in, he or she has all her soldiers. We get in here, we can look at a soldier, and there's a soldier just jamming away at those hashes, trying to figure out. So this is a really cool way to illustrate the Byzantine general problem and kind of how it's solved by proof of work. And then we get into, oh gosh, there's me on YouTube. Then we get into blockchain, right? We have a chain of blocks, and sort of as they get mined, we're kind of copying these blocks and pasting them in. It's just a really kind of nice way to illustrate, what the heck is going on here. And we kind of, once that block is mined, I'm gonna wire it up here, and then I'm gonna hook my miner up there. And then in the demo, I go back and I change one value over here on this, and everything turns blue again. So then, I think the most fun, I get to transactions. I even do a look ahead at meta transactions. This is the fun part. So we can bring in a contract. So here is just a hello world contract with so we said no code, but we're gonna have a little code, sorry. So I'm gonna just hit a button. I'm gonna deploy that to that test net. If you guys are on eth.build right now, you could totally just go talk to this contract too. Watch this, I could even do this. I could go publish and I could drop my network address in there, and I could hit publish. Oh man, and if someone else was on ETHBuild and they were subscribing to the network, they would see my message pop. Oh no, come on, networking demo gods. Okay, it's not gonna, that's not looking good. You'll have to trust me that works sometimes. But let's go, okay, so we compiled our contract, we deployed it, and then we have this kind of box that represents our contract. So if we had more storage here, like another, let's make it an address, right? Public owner, and let's just leave it at zeros for now. And if, oh gosh, get out of there. If we deploy that guy, hopefully the address will change. And now we have this new kind of owner thing, right? And we can check the owner of that contract. You can kind of just like pull these boxes off and get, and it should be zeros, right? That is right. Or if we say test and we query that should be hello world. Okay, cool. So we're kind of iterating on a contract by just pulling it up in a browser, and it's kind of like this very visual kind of visceral experience, right? So I don't know how much time I have, maybe 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Let's see. Okay, so function, is it just constructor and Solidity? I don't even say function, do I? So we got a constructor, it's public, and this is when we can kind of learn about what message.sender is, right? Oh, we said we were gonna do no code, and he's diving into code. Sorry. Like, you can do so much cool prototyping stuff, but it really shines when you can, so now if we deploy that, and we go ask what our owner is, it should hopefully be me. Yeah, cool. Okay, so now we've learned about kind of storage in smart contracts, and we've learned about message.sender. Then we could set up let's set up a function to set the owner, right? And make it public, and bring in some address, somebody, and then set the owner to that. So this is gonna get a little more shifty, because what we're gonna have to do is, watch this. What do I got? 1 minute left. If I pull off the set owner, it's not gonna be a function that I can execute on. It's actually gonna be the bytecode. So then what we would have to do is set, I need an address. Let's grab someone else. Let's grab another key pair. Let's generate it. Let's hook the address up. There we go. So this gives us the call data. But what we have to do is make a transaction. And you start learning with this that every single thing I'm doing here is just a transaction. There's a transaction to deploy a contract. There's a transaction to talk to a contract. There's a transaction to send data around and change state. So what I do, I don't have time, but I'd plug that into data. I'd put some value in there. I'd put some 2 in there. Oh yeah, that's a module. That's pretty cool. Let's double click that just to see it. So there's the transaction that would be happening and kind of the inputs that would happen, but basically it would make a call to the contract. You can iterate. Lots of fun stuff. I think I even have MetaMask in here. I have, let's see what the price of Ethereum is right now. 281, hot tamale. Wait, we're developers. We don't talk about price. What are we doing here? Okay, I think that's it. Check out ETHBuild. Give me lots of feedback. There's tons of YouTube videos, but I think the takeaway here is that no code, low code helps you iterate quickly on prototypes.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.